What's good YouTube, JTHOLLOW here, and today I'm going to be breaking down my latest single, Party in the Hills.
It's a party in the hills. Someone bring the alcohol and someone bring the pills. Someone play a tune and they kick in for the thrills. It gon' be a good night, I can just feel. Fill your glass up and have a good time. Get a little high and feel the good vibes.
Alright, so first I started out with this loop, and with no effects, it sounded like this. And all I did was add an EQ, and I cut a bit of the lows out so it wouldn't clash with the 808s. I removed some of the mid frequencies so it wouldn't get in the way with the vocal. I also boosted a little bit around 900 on the side frequencies because I liked how it sounded, and I dipped around 1K. Afterwards, I added a kick, and the kick with no effects sounded like this. And on the kick, I added a SSL EV2, and all I did was have a low pass and high pass filter. I did that backwards. And then I added a F6. All I did was roll off. I added another high pass filter and dipped around 100. After that, I added some parallel compression, and all it was the CLA 76 by Waves. And these are my settings, and with it, it sounded like this. So yeah, as you can hear, it sounds a lot more punchier, if that's even a word. After that, I added a clap, and the clap dry sounds like this. And what I added was just a SSL EV2. I dipped around 5K, boosted around 1, and dipped around 700. And it sounds like this. After that, I just added some hi-hats and just your basic two-step hi-hats. I honestly don't even think, yeah, I didn't even touch this. So yeah, now that sounds like this. After that, I added a rim, 28% pan left, and it sounds like this. So as you can hear, we already got a little groove going on, and the last thing I did was added a perk and panned it 22% right, and now it sounds like this. After I added those, I added the 808, and the 808 dry sounded like this. And all I added was a fruity balance to give me some headroom. Then I added a SSL EV2 again, dipped or high pass and low pass filter, and dipped around 60, and then a saturation knob just to have it more distorted, and dipped it down a little bit, and now it sounds like this. Alright, and the whole entire beat sounds like this. Now on to the vocals. Alright, first off, we're going to start with the hook. Let me turn all these off. The hook completely dry sounds like this.
There's a party in the hills. Someone bring the alcohol and someone bring the pills. Someone play a tune when they kick in for the thrills. It gon' be a good night, I can just feel. Fill your glass up and have a good time. Get a little high and feel the good vibes that's surrounding us tonight.
And before I forget, I do record with autotune, obviously. I had, for this song particularly, I had a very fast settings, and I also record with a little bit of compression. I just have the Vox settings. I usually change it, but for this song, it sounded good, so I just rock with it. I usually don't want to go over 3 dB of compression. If it goes like near 5, you might want to dial it down a little bit. So yeah, now let's get back into the hook. So what I did was I first added a EQ. I had a high pass filter around 80, dipped around 1, again around 400, and again around 1000. So anywhere from 3 to 500 and 1 to 2000 is where I usually have problems in the vocal. And I rarely ever do dip around 180 or the low frequencies, but for this song that's what I did. And now I'm just going to turn it off and back on so you can hear what it sounds like.
There's a party in the hills. Someone bring the alcohol and someone bring the pills. Someone play a tune when they kick in for the thrills. It gon' be a good night, I can just feel. Fill your glass up and have a good time. Get a little high and feel.
So yeah, as you can hear, a big difference. Then the next thing I added was a de-esser, just a basic de-esser. I didn't even mess with the settings. All I did was have the band and then brought it down a bunch. And now I'm gonna turn it off and back on so you guys can hear it.
There's a party in the hills. Someone bring the alcohol and someone bring the pills. Someone play a tune when they kick in for the thrills. It gon' be a good night, I can just feel. Fill your glass up and have a good time. Get a little high and feel the good vibes that's surrounding us tonight.
Just to remove some of those S's I didn't like. And then I added an SSL EV2. I boosted a little around 5K, again around 1, and again around 500. And then also I dipped around 200. And then now I'm gonna turn it off and on so you can hear it.
There's a party in the hills. Someone bring the alcohol and someone bring the pills. Someone play a tune when they kick in for the thrills. It gon' be a good night, I can just feel. Fill your glass up and have a good time. Get a little high and feel the good vibes.
So yeah, as you can hear, it's obviously thin. So now we're gonna add some compression so it can so we can thicken up the vocal a little bit more. I added an R compressor, which really isn't doing much. It's just catching those peaks. So I'm gonna turn it off and on so you can hear.
There's a party in the hills. Someone bring the alcohol and someone bring the pills. Someone play a tune when they kick in for the thrills. It gon' be a good night, I can just feel. Fill your glass up and have a good time. Get a little high and feel the good vibes.
So yeah, as you can hear, it's not really doing much. It's just catching those peaks. And afterwards, we got the CLA 76. We used the Bluey on this one, and this is actually going to give it the body and the volume. So now I'm going to turn it off and on so you guys can hear it.
There's a party in the hills. Someone bring the alcohol and someone bring the pills. Someone play a tune when they kick in for the thrills. It gon' be a good night, I can just feel.
So obviously you can hear right away it's a lot louder, but it's not just doing that. It's also giving it more body, more character. And the last thing we added was a flanger just to give it a little bit more movement.
There's a party in the hills. Someone bring the alcohol and someone bring the pills. Someone play a tune when they kick in for the thrills.
Yeah, it's like barely noticeable, but it's just there to help it. Then afterwards, I added a plate, and that's once again not very noticeable. It's just there to help it. It's help it to get it a little bit more spacey before you send it through the hall reverb. And now I'm gonna bypass it and turn it back on.
There's a party in the hills. Someone bring the alcohol and someone bring the pills. Someone play a tune when they kick in for the thrills. It gon' be a good night, I can just fill your glass up.
So yeah, you can obviously hear when I turn it off, it helps it. And then afterwards, of course, I added the long reverb.
There's a party in the hills. Someone bring the alcohol and someone bring the pills. Someone play a tune when they kick in for the thrills.
Then I also added a quarter note delay, and it sounded like this.
There's a party in the hills. Someone bring the alcohol and someone bring the pills. Someone play a tune when they kick in for the thrills. It gon' be a good night, I can just feel.
Then after that, for the verse, I literally did the exact same thing. Oh, forgot to activate it. I did the exact same thing.
Got a great vibe surrounding us tonight.
The only thing I did different was I didn't have any flanger at all, and I automated the delay. After that, I added some parallel compression, which is just the same as the drum parallel compression, except I added an EQ to roll off some of the lows, and a SSL EV2. I dipped around 3K, and then again around 1K, and then dipped a lot around 300. And now I'm gonna bypass it and turn it back on.
There's a party in the hills. Someone bring the alcohol and someone bring the pills. Someone play a tune when they kick in for the thrills. It gon' be a good night, I can just feel.
Yeah, so as you can hear, literally probably all it's doing is giving it a lot more character, and obviously it's making it a lot louder. Now, it says I routed it to the Chris high end, but I'm doing nothing to it, so I don't know why I did that. It's kind of pointless. Anyways, after that, to the all vocals, all I did was add an EQ. I dipped around 300, or I boosted around 300, dipped around 500, and then again around 1000. And then now I'm gonna bypass it and turn it on.
There's a party in the hills. Someone bring the alcohol and someone bring the pills. Someone play a tune when they kick in for the thrills. It gon' be a good night, I can just feel.
So yeah, as you can hear, it sounds a lot better. And then after that, I added a CLA 2A, which is just barely doing anything. I think it might get to 2 dB, but other than that, it's barely doing anything. Just to glue the vocals together.
There's a party in the hills. Someone bring the alcohol and someone bring the pills. Someone play a tune when they kick in for the thrills. It gon' be a good night, I can just feel.
So yeah, and then the limiter, all it is making sure the vocals don't go past a certain point. Then the next thing is the pre-hook. The pre-hook with no effects sounds like this.
Party in the hills. There's a party in the hills. Party in the hills.
Alright, and what I did is just from the hook copied over everything, and then the EQ. Literally all I did is got the high pass and brought it up to 300, and then got a low pass and brought it up to 2000. And the flanger, I boosted it up to 57%, and then the wider, I used 39% of it. And then added parallel compression and reverb and stuff like that, and all together sounds like this.
Party in the house. There's a party in the house. Party in the house.
Alright, the next thing I'm gonna go over is this reverb throw right here. Oh, it's muted. The reverb throw sounds like this. And literally all I did was copy this, bring it down, and added reverb. A little bit of reverb, 1.5. Then I didn't even use the EQ. And that's it. I didn't use any of these either. They're just there. I think I experimented with it to see, if it sounded better, but it didn't. Then the last thing I added was ad-libs. The ad-libs with nothing on them sounds like this.
Woo! Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, they sound terrible dry. So all I added was a vocal writer, and if you noticed, I have that on all of my vocals, and that literally is a free vocal writer in FL Studio. All I literally did was went over here, went to vocal writer, sensitivity all the way up, and then I did something around here. Then after that, I added a EQ. I just high pass and low pass filter and nothing else. And then I added an R compressor to compress it a lot, so it sounds like this. Yeah. And then the real sauce is the 1/4 delay. I have it have a 1/4 delay ping pong, and then I also have it hooked up to the reverb, and then all together it sounds like this. So as you can hear, it doesn't sound bad now. Okay, so give me a break. Now all together sounds like this.
There's a party in the hills. Someone bring the alcohol and someone bring the pills. Someone play a tune when they kick in for the thrills. It gon' be a good night, I can just fill your glass up.
Alright, the last thing I'm going to show you before I go is how I mastered the song. So the first thing I did was added a bus compressor, which is just barely getting 4 dB of compression, and it's just to glue it together.
There's a party in the hills. Someone bring the alcohol and someone bring the pills. Someone play a tune when they kick in for the thrill.
And the next thing I added was an F6, and all I did was rolled off 20 hertz and boosted the mids just to give it more energy. I'm gonna bypass it and put it back on so you can hear.
There's a party in the hills. Someone bring the alcohol and someone bring the pills. Someone play a tune when they kick in for the thrill. It gon' be a good night, I can just feel.
So yeah, barely noticeable. I don't even think, yeah, not even dB on either or. And then this is a free saturation plugin. If I can remember where I got it, I will leave it in the link in the description. Around 2 hertz, I saturated around 0.8 dB, and then the high 1.2 and the low 1.3, just to give it the lows. That's what makes the 808 so punchy, and it sounds like this.
There's a party in the hills. Someone bring the alcohol and someone bring the pills. Someone play a tune when they kick in for the thrill. It gon' be a good night.
So yeah, as you can obviously hear, it makes the 808 more punchy. And the other thing I added is another F6, and the sides I rolled off around 87. I dipped around 300 and then boosted the sides around 1000, and then around 5000 I boosted a little bit on the sides as well. And now I'm just gonna bypass it and put it back on so you can hear what it does.
There's a party in the hills. Someone bring the alcohol and someone bring the pills. Someone play a tune when they kick in for the thrill.
So yeah, it's not really noticeable unless you like really pay attention to it. And the next thing I added was a L1 Ultra Maximizer, and then all it really does is just make it louder. I had the outceiling at -1, but I don't recommend doing that. I did this before. I experimented with it, and I've had it at -3, -2, and it gets a lot more louder. So yeah, I don't really recommend doing that anymore, but I did it for this song and it worked out. And then I have the threshold at 9, and as you're about to hear, literally all it does is make it louder.
There's a party in the hills. Someone bring the alcohol and someone bring the pills. Someone play a tune when they kick in for the thrill.
Then I added another L1 limiter and outselling at -1 and threshold at, or outselling at -0.1 and the threshold at -0.5, and all it does is the lower parts make it just a tad bit louder.
There's a party in the hills. Someone bring the alcohol and someone bring the pills. Someone play a tune when they kick in for the thrill. It gon' be a.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how I made my song Party in the Hills. If you want to check it out, it'll be on the screen right now, or you can go to the link in the description and check it out there. Until next time, I will see all of you later. Goodbye.
It's a party in the hills. Someone bring the alcohol and someone bring the pills. Someone play a tune and they kick in for the thrills. It gon' be a good night, I can just feel. Fill your glass up and have a good time.